strive to be the best I can be. And remember that there'll always be the negativity, but you can always break that down with more positivity. There's too much of hate in this world. So I keep telling people, always be a contributor. Don't be a contaminator. Build people up. Don't break people down. Don't be an emotional vampire. Don't sap from people, but add to people. Build people.
Since the time immemorial, one of the greatest challenges for the leaders across the globe has been able to predict the unpredictable successfully. The ones who could do so thrived, while the ones who missed the boat perished. The last year brought the world something that perhaps no one could have ever predicted. The once in 102 years pandemic altered the core of our businesses completely and forced leaders across the world to reflect and find ways to fortify their leadership skills. Hello and welcome to the Honest Talk by Freak Folks. I'm Harsh Pandey. For this particular session, we have this very special guest today, joining us all the way from South Africa, Dr. Usha Roopnarain, ma'am. She is a former member of parliament in the National Assembly of South Africa, Shadow Minister of Health in KZN, legislature, board member of NELMS, KGN, speaker, empowerment activist, author, poet, and the founder of Power to Empower Advocacy and Lobbying group to challenge the inequality in society. So first of all, ma'am, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you so much, Harsh. I'm deeply honored. I'm deeply humbled. Thank you for this opportunity, for connecting, and I'm delighted to be here and to participate.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's our pleasure to actually, that's very kind of you. So moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is delegation and empowerment. Delegation and empowerment are both very useful management tools and techniques, although both used for the same purpose of people management, and they have some differences. Both techniques have their benefit if used effectively. However, they are most when we used specifically for one particular situation, and also dependent on attitude that the manager and organization decide to employ. The key difference to both techniques is that employment raises leaders and delegation raises followers. This is what actually I believe. And my very first request to you is please explain some of your life experience, whether you have used these kind of management tools, and what's your personal takeaway on this?
Thank you so much, Harsh, for that question. And like you said in the introduction, COVID-19 changed the way we do work in the workplace. It changed our lives. So the entire DNA of the workplace became changed. So what has happened is that more and more people need to be empowered and more people need to be delegated. And I think you made a very, very pertinent point, about empowerment and delegation, because sometimes these two concepts are used interchangeably. They're used, almost to mean the same thing, but they're not. When I say empowerment means giving somebody the power. It could be the power in your skills, your attributes, your talents, like like what you are doing right now. You are hosting your talk show. That is your point of your power. And delegate is, suppose Harsh is unable, there's a pressing emergency and he's unable to continue with the talk show, so he will delegate. Delegate means to give somebody else the power. It means to offer responsibility onto somebody else. But like you said, when you delegate, there's also a number of criteria. Sometimes managers feel very insecure when they want to delegate. They feel that the power will be removed from them onto somebody else. It'll be taken away. So people will feel, if they've given, if they delegated with power, they feel more empowered. They feel that Harsh trusts me enough to give me that power. So these are the differences. So I see empowerment not just has an anchor, but also has an asset to
Yes.
any organization.
Correct.
So what I'm saying is that in order to empower somebody, you don't just do it. It's not a quick fix. It's not something I say, it's an affirmation, some positive concept. It's a process. It's a journey. It's something long-term. And also when you empower somebody, Harsh, you have to have the means to do it. You have to have the resources, the tools. We were in a Zoom meeting. If I didn't have a MacBook or I didn't have a iPad, I'm unable to launch a meeting. So you need the tools. So empowerment is a process. It's not a bloated, positive affirmation saying you've done a great job, but it's the continuation of it. And with delegation, you become an empowered leader. And that's what we need to move towards. It's having a plant. And in order for that plant to grow, you need to have an enabling environment, fertile soil. Similarly, in an organization, you need a good team, you need encouragement, you need motivation, you need incentives.
Right.
So I could go on, but just stop me whenever you can.
You have defined us very beautifully way. And I must say the viewers who are watching this session, they are also going to find us insightful. Now, my next question to you is, or what you believe, because you have been into this leadership position, what do you think, in your opinion, what are the basic tools needed for the effective leadership?
Harsh, I was a member of parliament for 14 years of my life. So to be a public figure, your life is under scrutiny. Now, I had the added advantage. I was a woman, and being a traditional Indian woman in South Africa, to be a member of parliament was such a great achievement because we have a huge Indian population here. It's the largest Indian population outside of India. So I was very honored. But with the position of power, there's also a great deal of responsibility. And you would know, when you talk about leadership, you need certain qualities, certain attributes or characteristics that define leaders. You need to be empathetic. What does empathy mean? It means to be able to feel for another human being. You need to also be a servant, because we have too many leaders these days who are only interested in me, myself, and I. They are very egotistic leaders. So you need to be a servant. You need to be able to serve the people. And I always use, I'm in South Africa. So we all know our iconic leader, Nelson Mandela. And
Yes.
we always remember him, for his work. And because I'm an Indian, I'm also very attached to the ethos of Mahatma Gandhi, because he was here in South Africa. And what did he teach us? He taught us humility. He taught us that, we must burn ego, we must burn pride. We must remember that ultimately we are human beings. This is who we are. So I use, those two role models, Mandela and Gandhi, in my life. So those are the attributes that I use when I was in parliament. And even now, being a founder of an organization that lobbies, that tries to agitate change, because that's what Mandela did, bring about change. He brought an end to apartheid, to oppression, to division. And the same with Mahatma Gandhi. He tried in his own way. And those are the leaders that we need today. Those are the kind of leadership attributes we need. We need humility. We need servanthood. We need empathy. And most importantly, they also need to be fair, non-discriminatory, because we find too much corruption today. So yes, and in my years of experience, I found that sometimes you have to continually reinvent yourself. As a leader, not everybody will like you. You also have to have a thick skin, because there'll always be the darts, the arrows, the negative criticisms. That's how life is. Life is a journey. It's not something linear. It's not straightforward. And we also have to have methods of how we deal with it. And we know, even amongst the youth, there's cyberbullying. It's so easy to get demotivated in this whole social media space, but we have to rise above it. And I found that the more I speak about it, the more I use my voice, the more I'm able to talk about it, I'm able to bring about change. And like Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world. Now, I'm one human being, Harsh. I can't change the world. You know, very often we watch Miss Universe and Miss World, and the prospective candidates there, I always ask the question. It's very cliched. It's almost like jargon, like, you know, what do you want to do? They answer continuously is, I want to change the world. We can only change one life at a time. That's my belief.
Yes.
That's my mantra. And even if I do that one day at a time, I'm doing something right. So that's my belief. And that's the motivation I live with every day. Those are the values I carry with me. And that is what I try to empower people with across the world, whether it's South Africa, India, globally. So yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Yes, actually, this was really a very inspirational answer from your side, ma'am. And I think you have shared a very deep message with your answer. And my next question to you is, we have seen that leaders use self-discipline to sharpen their willpower and decision-making skills, to command respect and others, to lead to by example, to achieve their goal regardless of their feeling, to gain profit, and to look beyond hard work, to stick to their decision, to evaluate themselves and place boundaries, to compartmentalize their emotions. Ma'am, my request to you is, or rather, I just wanted to ask this question: how do you define the role of self discipline in your life? And it would be great if you could share some of your personal life experiences.
Yeah, that's a very good. If we have challenges, I like to call them challenges, because you know, what has COVID taught us? Life can be so uncertain. We always have to adapt, adjust, and we have to always metamorphosize ourselves. You know, we have to change ourselves. We have to reinvent, reorientate ourselves. And what I do is, I start my day off very early. So I try to do my most difficult tasks first. So when I do the most difficult tasks first, I'm able to do the easier ones at the end of the day. And I always have a to-do list. You know, it's like a meeting, a checkup in the morning, a to-do list, and I tick it off. And as you go towards the end of your day, you'll find that you'll have this inner sense of accomplishment. And that actually increases your self-worth. And one other thing I do every night without fail is gratitude. I always thank God for my day. I always thank God for 3 things in my life, whatever happened that day. Even today, being able to be on your talk show, being able to inspire, uplift, motivate other people, that for me is gratitude. So I think you must have goals in the morning. When you get up, have a goal in mind, and also show gratitude. And the third G, I remember it has 3 Gs. Eventually, when you do this, you will have growth. You will grow as a human being. And that's when a leader, you know, there's always that question, is a leader born or do you become one? Yes. And I always answer, it's both. You have to be born before you become a leader. So you goals, gratitude, you will grow. And that's my mantra. And I know people, you know, meditate, they find their center, they find their core. So whatever works for different people. And like I said, just start off doing the most difficult tasks first. And automatically it creates a behavioral change. Your day will get smoother, it will get better, and you'll be more energized, more productive, and you'll be happy at the workplace, at your institution, at your organization. And also, Harsh, other tip, always be a lifelong learner. I'm always learning. You know, people will ask me, even though I have 6 degrees, I still write poetry every week. I still do something. I'm always learning. I'm learning new recipes. I'm learning gardening, anything. I'm open to learning. Always be a lifelong learner. That's my other lesson, my other advice. Keep learning. You will keep growing. Never stop learning.
Right. No, these are very, actually, you have shared a very great tips with us. And because learning is something which we have to keep continue. It is not something, because we are living in an environment that is very fast paced. And if we want to actually go with this environment, then we have to keep updating ourselves. Now, my next question to you is, a new way of working has emerged from the post-industrial age into digital one. And with it, the need for the new leadership. What are your views on the demanding leadership of this new age? How will it going to be?
Yes, Harsh, I think, when we first were seeped into this pandemic and we realized that we actually have to live in a bubble. And with the lockdowns, with all we saw was negativity. It became almost a toxic environment. And all we saw was live COVID data. And what was the data showing us? It showed us deaths. The deaths were increasing. And we saw everything became, we were living in a sort of like gripped like a cage, filled with fear. So what had happened is we thought we'd have to sanitize, we'd have to wear a mask,
Right.
we couldn't hug somebody. It created social distance. It also created something that became, we had to live in a virtual space. So it was, as human beings, we love to interact, we love to chat, that's our essence, that's how we are created, that's our DNA, that's who we are. That's what differentiates us from the animal kingdom. So with this whole onslaught of this pandemic, we are seeped into this world of uncertainty, fear, and we began to work remotely. We had to work at home. And here as well, we needed to adjust how we were working. And also, for women at home, it became almost like a added responsibility, a double challenge, because they had to take care of their children. Some women had to actually teach their children online. So it was, and when you're in an online space, you have to make sure everything is perfect. I mean, there's no distractions, there's sound filters. It became difficult because this was a new system. For some, it was hybrid, some it was, totally online. So it taught us that we needed to adjust, or else we will become an unemployment statistic. So the COVID was really damning, but also it showed us that we could emerge stronger. We could come back, almost make a comeback. And that's what we've done. And I think it's important because it's taught us this life lesson that no matter what life throws at you, use it, take it as advantage, use it as an opportunity, not just as an obstacle, but as an opportunity. And let it not become a setback, but make it a comeback. So
Right.
that's what COVID has taught us.
Indeed, ma'am. Actually, my next question to you is, what values are most important to you as a leader, and how do you handle disagreement with co-workers? Because when you work with team, there are certain type of disagreement, and which is very quite obvious, and sometimes they are beneficial, sometimes, or rather say most of the times. And one more question I have: how do you define leadership failure?
Okay, Harsh, in terms of leadership, we are all human beings, so we all don't think the same way, especially if we're in a team. And being human, we have our different ways, we have different personalities, so we have different mindsets, different ways of thinking. I mean, if there's a problem and if there's 5 people, there's 5 different opinions of the problem. So what do? We have to engage also in brainstorming. As a leader, you have to ascertain other members' viewpoints, and not everybody is heard. Like, you're not going to think the same way because you're not programmed that way. You're a human being, so you're going to think differently. Biologically, we may have evolved, the highest in the kingdom, but also our thinking is very, very different. And it's not possible. So what it comes down to is conflict resolution. If you're in a team and there's different viewpoints, you have to come to what is called a compromise, a midpoint. You have to see, and you have to ascertain that, you have to come to a meeting point where all the views are going to be taken into account, and not everything is going to go ahead, because there's something called shared goals, and you have to share in those goals, and that is part of the mission vision of the organization. So it's important that as a leader, you're able to deal with conflict, and you have to deal with conflict in terms of mediation, arbitration, and you have to be a solution seeker. It's so important if you want to maintain a healthy workplace environment. Otherwise, it's going to get toxic, it's going to get contaminated, it's going to lead to a breakdown in productivity, a breakdown in efficiency. And what do you have? You have an unhappy team. And if you have an unhappy team, they're not going to build each other up. They're going to break the organization down. The basic foundation of the organization, the building blocks are going to shake, and the organizational culture is going to be gone. And you don't want that. You want a leader who's, I have my views, but I'm entitled to listen to your views. You're welcome to sit down and tell me your views. So a leader has to be charismatic, has to be open, and a leader has to have trust in a team. So that those are very, very important. And I would say that, Harsh, it's also very important that we don't pull each other down. We actually build up each other. And that's where empowerment comes in. And if I feel that somebody lacks in a certain skill, I must be able to create that environment, that empowering environment to build up the skill. Even if it's communication, the way somebody speaks, I must be able to empower them, build their skills up. Even if it's into that power. So that's my my view on that question. You can't be a leader who's self-centered. You won't last. And you can't be a leader who only thinks about themselves. What would happen? You will start to breed corruption. And we've seen the downfall of leaders who are tyrannical, who are dictatorial. You have to be able to delegate. You have to be able to bring the whole team on board. That is a good leader. And you have to serve, most importantly.
Yes, actually, this was really a very wonderful answer. I'm truly impressed from you, this answer, because you have discovered and you have made a very great point that we have to actually encourage everyone rather than pulling down anyone, because this is what leaders actually do. And my next question to you is, we have seen the business world has changed dramatically over the last few decades. And now we live in an environment or in a connected society where change can be fast-paced, constant, and unpredictable. Rapid advance in technology have created an environment where the internet, smartphone, and social media are ubiquitous, and the 2008 global financial crisis and this 2020 pandemic has increased the sense of turbulence, danger, and unpredictability in the certain areas. In your opinion, what critical skills required to excel in this fast-paced changing world, and what are some tips would you like to give young leaders?
That's a very good question, because, you know, Harsh, if you're not with social media, if you're not I mean, that is a sad fact of life, and that's so real today. And what I would say to young people is, make yourself relevant, be real. And no matter what it takes, like I said, you have to keep learning, learn new values every day. Even if you don't have to go to college to get a degree.
Yes.
I mean, you can use online learning. There's millions of courses, and I will encourage young people, take advantage, learn something new every day. And also, if you want to stay afloat in this world, because the business world is not an easy world. It's a world where it's profit driven. It's not people driven. It's profit. It's about revenue. It's about return on investments. And it's a tough world. And it's a world where you can't be fragile. Otherwise you'll break down. You have to build yourself up. That's why you have to have a strong support system. And I always look at support system like a spinal column. It supports your structure, it supports your posture, and it's something that you can lean on. So that's what you need. You need a strong support system. Look at your teams and keep encouraging each other. Have somebody that if you're on it, one of these talk shows, you always have something called a lifeline. It's somebody who throws you that lifeline, to get that correct answer so that you can move up and win the prize. So have people who are lifelines, who you can call on. I don't understand, Harsh, how this Zoom meeting works. Or Harsh, I know you had an emergency. Can somebody fill in for me? Have a team that your team, make it your team, make it your tag team. Even if you post something, people are going to support you, build you, uplift you. So make sure you have people with different skills. Like I said, in the team, not everybody is going to be the leader. You're going to have followers. And how are you going to have followers? If you're able to emulate the good, if you're able to emulate positivity, because like you said, COVID has brought on so much of negativity, but you must be able to be the head. You must be able to lead, but you must be able to lead in such a way that you're able to lead from the back. So people think that nothing is impossible. They are unstoppable. They are fierce. And that's what we need. We need people to realize that in this world, you can have curveballs. There's no such thing as smooth sailing.
Right.
Even on a normal day, you're going to have the mountaintops, you're going to have the valleys, but it's how you view it. And always have that team that you can count on. It can be also your family. It can be, it doesn't have to be an organizational team. It doesn't have to be a workplace team. Sometimes it's just a family member that you can call on for support, somebody from the outside who can just give you advice. So I think it's very, very important that we have that someone, somebody, some team, people that we can rely on. So it's not just about self-reliance, but it's also resilience. That's
Exactly.
very important.
It's not
to get back up every time. Every time you will have knocks in life, you will have locked doors. And the thing is to make a comeback every time. It's not easy. It's not just about being positive. It's a process. I keep saying it's long term. You have to keep going at it. And in the end, you will be successful. You will gain victory.
Yeah. Indeed, ma'am. This was really a very wonderful answer from your side. And I'm truly impressed again from this answer, ma'am. And I must say the kind of energy you brought into this session was inspiring for me, actually. And ma'am, I can say there's a lot more to learn from you, but today I don't want to take too much of your time. So moving to my last question of this session, actually everyone experiences imposter syndrome at one point or another. It's that pattern where you find yourself in where you doubt your skills, talents, or accomplishments. And it's persistence. You fear being exposed, feeling like folks will find out you aren't as brilliant, amazing, and fantastic as you or they thought. My question to you is, please share some of your personal tips to deal with imposter syndromes. And also, it would be great if you could actually relate with some of your personal life experiences.
Yeah, sure, Harsh. That's a very good question. I think it's very, very important, in the world that we live in today, because we live in a world of social media. And like you said, when I was in Parliament, your whole life is under a microscope. I mean, whatever you do, especially if you're women, I mean, it's not even your political views that matter. It's your shoes that matter, so to speak. It's you're brought under so much of scrutiny. You almost have to be flawless. And you can't be flawless because at the end of the day, you're a human being. We all have our faults. We all have our flaws. And I always tell people, we are not perfect people. Only God is perfect. We are imperfect. We all come, with our imperfections. So number one, I would say is accept it. And being in Parliament, it taught me a lot about accepting. Not everybody is going to like you. If you're in the opposition, people in the ruling party will not like what you say because you're in opposition to them. So opposition automatically means you have alternate viewpoints, you have a different narrative, you have a different discourse. But that doesn't mean that I need to hate them. I just don't like their policies, but I don't hate them. Now, in the age of social media, it's so easy to break somebody down because, like I said, we are human beings. And in life today, there's too many filters. There's too many fakes as well out there because what you see is not what you always get. And we have to be able to deal with it. We have to be able to remove the filters of our life. We're living in the age, and we keep coming back to this of COVID, where we wear masks, and these masks almost cover up. Sometimes it covers up our vulnerabilities, it covers up our insecurities. But Harsh, one of the toughest lessons I've learned in life is that Sometimes you have to look straight on and you have to deal with it. And there will be haters. Not everybody is going to love us. Even
Correct.
Mahatma Gandhi had his haters, his detractors. Even Mandela, the very people who put him into prison, hated his policies of. And like I'm going to tell everybody out there, we can't please everybody.
No.
We cannot. We are not perfect people. We are imperfect people. But I'm going to tell people, accept who you are, whoever you are. This is who we are. We are a masterpiece. Every one of us are different. We are God's creation. So we need to come to that point of acceptance. Yes, I'm not going to change the world. I'm not going to be the next Barack Obama, or, I'm not going to be the next Hillary Clinton. I'm not. But I'm a leader if I'm in my family. I'm a leader if, I'm in an organization. I must strive to be the best I can be. And remember that there'll always be the negativity. Yes. But you can always break that down with more positivity. There's too much of hate in this world. So I keep telling people, always be a contributor. Don't be a contaminator. Build people up. Don't break people down. Don't be an emotional vampire. Don't sap from people, but add to people, build people. And those rocks, those stones can be criticism. You're not good enough. You'll never amount to anything. You'll never have enough views. You'll never have enough talk shows. Take those and build. And whatever stones they'll throw, take it and build till you're able to stand up and say, I will use my voice. And that is what I do today. I use my voice because this is what I have. And I can bring about change by using my voice and telling people, yes, I've been a politician. It hasn't been an easy journey, but I've learned and I can teach people from my journey. So share your story, tell your story, be that voice, agitate change, catalyze change, bring about change. Harsh, the other thing about being a former politician is that you have a voice, and sometimes that voice can't be silenced. So I may not be in parliament anymore, but I can still use my voice, even on LinkedIn, whatever social media, to bring about change. And I'm not saying to bash men or anything. Bring about change for those that are marginalized, those that are victimized. Even men are oppressed, whatever, it can be in the home or in the workplace. So even people who are vulnerable. So don't discriminate, don't divide, unify. That is my voice. And that's what I aim to do. Just one life at a time, build people up and encourage people.
Indeed, ma'am, this was really a very positive. Actually, this was a very positive message from your side, ma'am. And ma'am, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining and giving your important time. We look forward to conduct more such sessions with you in future. And again, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so very much, Harsh. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and both shukriya. I loved it, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I hope that the youth or people out there will learn something. There will be some nugget that will resonate with somebody, and somebody's life will be changed. So keep going and keep striving, keep learning.
Indeed, ma'am. This was actually very kind of you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining. And we will find more such opportunities in future. Sure. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone.